Big hand for Charlene. And all of the readers, all of today, but mostly in the last hour. My name is Jim Behrle. For some reason, I have been tasked with my favorite hour of hosting ever. The last hour of every Poetry Project Marathon is unbelievable. It's my spirit animal throughout the year. It's my only hour in which I am happy because there are so many wonderful poets reading, and then we clean up and have a party. So please stick around. Our first readers is Days. It's Ethan Philbrick and Ned Riseley. Days is Ethan Philbrick and Ned Riseley. A band, a theatrical project, and a couple.
I don't know what you've been told. I don't know what you see in me. Whatever it is, you better forget it. I've been talking out of turn. I've been saying crazy shit. No one knows when I say it if I mean it. If you wanna keep me in a sacred sleep, if you think it's deep, then I'm sorry. You've been told what's mine is yours, and what's yours is also mine. If you think you have it, it probably has you. If you wanna keep me in a sacred sleep, if you think it's deep, I'm so sorry you're mistaken. Stage to break it. In the garden, they're asking after you. Your apartment has a ton of residue. Energetics is a field you know about. It's pathetic how you give it up. In the garden, they are asking after you. Your apartment has a ton of residue. Thank you. Thank you.
days, ladies and gentlemen. Ethan Philbrick and Ned Riseley. Big hand from Matt Proctor. Matt Proctor is a poet from Pedro Lopez is next. Please welcome Matt Proctor. Queer Puerto Rican artist working on causing emotional contagion.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Please welcome Pedro Lopez.
12-14-24. Blueberries for president.
Hello,
New York City Diaries, staying off the photo booth. We're having lunch victual. The internet was going on. It was a system reset, which at this point last week I'd be doing nothing. Abused as a child, blog wash routine in the morning. The bog humps me as a teacher, dirty and intuitive. Like a pigeon, John Ryan. I totally get why you stopped talking to him, demonstrating curiosity about the world. I don't ask questions about what's developing within me to do, I just do it. In winter, they place the sky on the ground so you can see better in the elongated dark. Prices don't go back down. They raise the price of Christmas chickens. This smells good. I better film it. Donde está la noche?
Tears are
roaring Mad Tom. At White Castle, they refer to us by name, with hey, ho, the wind and the rain. Maybe I'll order more. How's everybody doing tonight?
Crying gives us access to these actions for renewal.
My receipt came out of the printer blank, so I wrote my items on it by hand. Craving a document. Take your folding crave. I want my rain burger of chicken joy.
And blood.
Nursing myself with poesy. That wasn't a gift. He wants his $100 back. Matt Rife is starring with Owen Wilson in a film about rolling loud. What the hell am I doing with my life? She meant to say that I lose people. I'm terrible at what I do. But he looked all nice getting kicked out of my house. I was going to use that money to apply for college. Better come up with something fast. The city is my knife. It's my wife. It's my life. 15 years of rocky marriage. Highs of bliss. Storms of disaster full of invective. Sore guests buying your way in. Only resident in your ability to pay for it. See? Matt listens.
I believe we are closer to
that was a big moment in my life. Not everybody liked it.
Currently operating in.
Ashley's the final boss of I Love You Back. That's never I quit. Near the weird lodge without a job. Should stop telling people how much I relate to Sweet Bird of Youth. Are you a gigolo? Leanne Brown asks.
For Pedro
I have a right to be political and leftist on the mic. Unchained from 96th Street.
Next.
Only men would
Jonathan
be a good
lives
part
in
for
New
me.
York and publishes
Intersecting at this point in my
Poetry
life,
magazine.
using
Please
my
welcome
YouTube against
Jonathan
me in a court of
Aprea.
law. Thrive Spa Massage and Wellness comments on my live stream, and I explore it in scene study, interference Jim Varney on the Squawk Box. Everything's taking me home, even when they're dead. Maybe they're in love after class. The loudest is the most insecure. Just tell me what the right thing to do is, but I can't guarantee I'll do it. I can only write dialogue from the situation that I'm within. Look at the positive. All this sadness is good for my poetry. I just hope I still get to do it here without paying so much, as I have no life to be. I'm more valuable free, able to travel through the city, catalyzing art through performance. Took me to April to buy it, and I didn't even use it anyway. Can't waste another year. It's her birthday too, which makes sense. She's twice as pissed. A career dagger that you love can't go back into bed, though I stayed in it all day without much rest. Think I'll watch Mixed Nuts, but where is Ashley? I don't deserve to be taken care of. Anything I got, I earned it, to little or no effect. It was all exactly what I hoped it would look like.
The sun has a specific incidence tonight. As it sets, the effect gets stronger and the trees and the branches come to move as though my thoughts give sentience to stationary things. Each set of keys from my past. They return to me as it grows dark. I turn them and the box fills with water. Thank you.
Give it up for Jonathan Aprea. Cerine and Gary Gustavo Gomez are next. Cerine likes living on the edge of experience and in Brooklyn. Gary is an inline skater, photographer, musician, and a videographer for the Poetry Project.
what you looking for?
Give it up for Cerine and Gary Gustavo Gomez. Mel Elberg is next. Mel Elberg is a poet and collaborator working across visual and sonic mediums. Please welcome Mel Elberg.
Thank you. Two short poems. Seasons. I love it when all the ingredients go together at the store, like lemon and feta and fresh dill and yogurt and Enfamil for my addict friend who lives in front of the store. I love it when everything just matches, pumpkins and cider and a debate over raping women prisoners and cinnamon and leaves. Don't you love the smell of anthrax latte, morning seasonal sensual year of mass death on an October morning, birdwing? Napalm airwaves, he set himself on fire. She said musical instead of beautiful. Easier to fool them than to convince them they've been fooled. In whimsy, which is earnest, the root of friendship surely isn't disappearance, who you trust to imagine you when you're not there. She's already in my mirror, my leaf unclenching, surely close to death as we are to this party. The soundtrack is sick and hard because these are also the colors of life balancing. The laurel below the trash bin on the third floor is the name of a 100-year-old pile of bricks people live in earnestly as if the very earth depended on it. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Give it up for Mel Elberg.
All right. Up next, we have St. Jim Elmo Behrle, who is the host of the movie review show Three Thumbs Up on WFMU, Tuesday nights at 6 p.m., and the acting shadow director of the Poetry Project. Please welcome Jim Behrle.
Protection spell for the USA. Oompa, loompa, doopa dee dee. Your poetry will protect me. Oompa, loompa, doopa dee doo. My poetry will protect you. That was Jim Behrle. James Barickman is next. James Barickman is Namke Sarab Samaj, spelled backwards. Please welcome James Barickman.
Sorry, Jim. Very quick set of applauses are in order for the tech crew of Anna, Noah, Pedro, Cerine, Gary, Matt, Mel, Vince, Ben and Nico on the lights, Maddie, anyone I'm forgetting, Jim, of course. Also a round of applause for the new poetry czar, Nicole Wallace, my captain. I'm gonna read a poem. This poem is called The Mothman. It is about the eponymous cryptid from the mountain state. It is after an Elizabeth Bishop poem called The Man Moth, which I learned about at the Poetry Project staff potluck earlier this year. There's a volunteer read a poem, their own poem, that was a poem written after that poem. I don't remember who that is. If you're listening, tell me who you are. So this is The Mothman. Here above the whole shadow of man, only big as his wings. We saw him once as light blurring the warm path of our headlamps, but never worked out, were the red parts eyes, or did their glow surface through mistranslation? Lights glass our own dreaming retinas. Somewhere in West Virginia when I was 15, I stood on a gas station rooftop and watched a black bear gorge itself on garbage. Both paws and wet maw poked out the dumpster like a ferocious hand puppet whose operator had crouched inside a piss-soaked stage. I say rooftop because I remember looking down from a safe distance, but how'd I get up there? When a bird glides absent of reference against the sky, we find faith fits the scale and the questions stop altogether. Turns out Bishop sees it too. The third rail, what an inheritance of poison might read as unbroken line on oblivion. It's a misprint. No, it's a monster. One lurking over the shoulder, through tunnels or darkened trees or higher still. From 10 stories, the dumpsters hardly register, yet the vision floats by on wings of hardened protein. Sometimes we glimpse him caught in polished panes of skyscrapers or between stalks of bound steel wires suspending a bridge. Sometimes disaster follows in eerie collusion with his visit. We watch rubble crack, then crash into smoke-thick powder, which climbs even taller than our vantage before emptying into atmosphere. When it clears, we find no trace of the monster, only flashes of movement, only hungry rustles of bears now emerging through layers of carcinogenic dust. They brush World War from their coats with snouts sniffing crushed glass and contorted rebar. They lumber darkly back to their dumpsters. One lifts a lid, the rest follow, but something inside is already moving. What's that, you ask as we bend over the edge and strain toward the seen stories below, past alignments of towers felled like icy redwoods and framed by twisting antennae, knotted office buildings, strange Nazca lines of industrial sickness spanning seaboards drawn for mythic communion, and only really legible if, by stepping too far, we suddenly start to fly. Thank you. Free Luigi, free Palestine, Happy New Year.
That was James Barickman. Noah Mendoza is next. Noah is a poet based in Brooklyn whose work is based in experimental translation. Please welcome Noah Mendoza.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for staying. I feel like you guys are the freaks who stay till the end of the rave and the lights start to come up and you're still here, so thank you. This poem is called What's Up. I cry sometimes when I'm lying and, no, I'm kidding. That would be crazy. What's up? Not much. Sitting alone, first to arrive, at a long table in December. And you? Having let a friend sink to the bottom of a pool. And you? Thinking of the time I watched a brave dying starfish in the sea in Puerto Rico, bleached, a singular survivor in a dilated scorch of coral sea ribs. And you? Having had enough after his disappearance, I escaped below the belly of a sheep, clinging to the where-ya-ats underneath. And you? I'm inside the house, boiling chicken bones to make a broth the hour you chopped your tits off, ignoring my ringing phone. At the hospital in Atlantic, he's hanging up. And you? Lying to you. And you? Looking at 4 trumpets of enormous metal left by angels at an art show paid for by 2 generations of war criminals. And you? Trying to like being good, trying to write things down before they become nothing, symbols, dried pocket flowers, in this way, making a discursive equivalent of what I do when I'm confessing to the poster of Juan Waters when I'm in the shower. And you? I'm a nun, my first day at a monastery, unsure of myself, but sure of my love for God, stepping into a dining room filled with other sisters, and realizing that I still felt a fear of loneliness. But how silly, taking to eating my breakfast alone, searching up God's number in my brain's yellow phone book, separating that my from I, and finding a little bit of doubt there, the devil a language, forming a beautiful whole as natural as gravity. You? I'm making coffee in the morning, 2 cups still. To respond to your second person, my only command is transformation. Thank you.
That was Noah Mendoza. Mirene Arsanios is next. Mirene writes prose and poetry since she started working at the Poetry Project. Please welcome Mirene Arsanios.
I think I'm going to cry of exhaustion and happiness. And I have very few words left, but I do want to congratulate Nicole Wallace, our new ED. We love you, and you're an angel, and it's such an honor to work with you. And thank you also to all the Poetry Project staff and everyone who worked tonight, all the techs, the volunteers, and the friends who are still here, and also to Celsius Sparkling Wild Berry for keeping me awake. Okay, I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to read a short prose poem that I wrote during Wendy Lauderman's workshop. And yeah, it's called I Want to Do More Than Publishing a Magazine, but I'm too preoccupied with my health. I wake up to drink vegetables in pressurized form, get high on the percentage of vitamin C, D, E. I've been unwell, I tell the doctor, massaging my tongue, examining the bumps. I stare at my face, inside my mouth. The coding, Jeff says, seems to be okay. News fill the airspace with descriptions of bunker-busting bombs. My brother's angry on IG. My aunt shares an opinion piece, nice but wrong in believing that fundamentalism has plunged us into darkness. She hates hate, she writes. What a fool. The bomb burrows deep into the earth before exploding, maximizing its destructive effects against the target. Allah yarhamu. The doctor says I'm healthy, my condition escaping the purview of Western solutions. I used to smoke a lot, living an illiterate life on a land shaped by interests I didn't understand, the same way she, the writer, is blinded by her own worldview. Which is why the chart Wendy shared on how to write more socially needs to be intuitively anchored in a consciousness that knows itself, otherwise it doesn't work. A claim she would disagree with, I think, because of its emphasis on the word consciousness. Adorno too believed that the lyric is de facto part of the whole, that the forces shaping the poem are larger than the poem itself, that writing will inevitably be of its time, capturing the necessary drifts and antagonism of its age, a metaphor sneaked into a stanza against its will, like pain that is chronic, no language, explanation, or methods developed enough to arrive at a diagnosis. Thank you.
That was Mirene Arsanios. Kay Gabriel is next. Kay Gabriel is a writer and organizer. Her next book, Perverts, will be available from Nightboat in fall 2025. Please welcome Kay Gabriel.
I got it. Oh. This mic is made for trannies. Happy New Year. For the cart captioner, there is a name that comes up in this a lot. It is sometimes spelled with an, in English it's sometimes spelled with an E. In this poem it is not. There is no E in this name. Song for New York Joe. And for the cart captioner, that is J-O. Dear Joe, I don't know why I ran away from society. I must have been looking for something more abstract than sex, with more longevity than teen cross-dressing. Sweetness, excess, outrage. Life so beautiful I couldn't stomach it. A prohibition to cross and cross again until I could just live there, flicking my clit on that furious edge and pissing everybody off except my friends, whose dim outlines I saw before I knew who they were and whose names I didn't know to call. I wanted a cure for loneliness, like a kid wishing away the mono he didn't even get from kissing. I didn't know that queers had collective houses you could get banned from, say, for fucking somebody's boyfriend before the polycule got to its consensus. I didn't know you could be asked to sit through struggle sessions the rest of your Brooklyn, Philly life. I didn't expect the school of thought that preached this shining path as if it were anti-fascist army training, even when, suddenly, there were real fascists everywhere who either didn't care about our internecine squabbles or definitely encouraged them. I didn't change sex to yell at the world. That wasn't why I ran away from society, but then yelling seemed like the available thing to do. Until I swam in it, I didn't dare to imagine a love so thick and handy, so full of purpose and free of self, it would shock people into, for instance, saying sister and meaning by it everything. What everything? Somewhere between outrageous creed, plain fact of abundance, a promise to do better, and a theory of change. Did I mean it, Joe, before I met you? I must have, but in a fumbling way, feeling out a shape that comforts and is real, but you don't recognize or know quite how to talk about. So consciousness illuminates in retrospect what you were living already. It's like at the end of Go Tell It on the Mountain when John has a new brother in Elisha, but that was sublimated homosexuality. We're already gay, and this is something different. Watching you practice love, Joe, is like learning for the first time to listen, to make sense of sound and people without the nasty self putting up its fists in pained defense. I mean to state my thesis plainly. Love is a discipline, abundant, purpose-driven, convivial, ecumenical, a meeting people where they're at, in being and not just in opinion. I mean, you teach it, a changing how we treat each other on the way to changing everything. I mean, Joe, you teach me how to practice. I wrote you a letter in the house of God. I'm dramatic. I'm sister dramatic. I'm sincere. I'm so serious in front of your astonishing heart. Between when I wrote this letter and when you're hearing it now, we'll have lived something else outrageous and unnameable. We won't talk about it. We won't even write about it. And you'll have made me laugh, or more like Bray or Winnie, like if Fran Drescher was a small animal on uppers. It's a miracle I'm even standing. A miracle you're around to hear it. A miracle, but not a surprise. Where sisters are and need you, you were always going to be radiantly there. Happy New Year.
Give it up for K. Gabriel. Will Farris is next. Will Farris is a poet and yoga teacher. Please welcome Will Farris.
Happy New Year. God Room Duet. 1. I am thinking is a sentence written in the present continuous tense. The present continuous tense has several uses used to describe an action that is happening now. For example, I am thinking. No end to the action is disclosed, though it might be presumed. It might also be used to convey an expressly temporary action, frequently accompanied by an adverbial qualifier, I'm just thinking for right now. It can also relay an action that will happen later, I am thinking later. Inverted, it invokes the interrogative, I am thinking. Lastly, a repeated action, the tense made metaphoric, employed so as to suggest you might do something frequently, as if you cannot stop. A sustained, repeated, even helpless manner, I am always thinking. An object in motion stays in, but thought is not an object, thinking is not an act. A poem is not an object, but can be put inside an object if deemed interesting. A poem isn't always deemed interesting. A poem is not a thought is not a poem contains thought. A room is not a thought, a room is not an object, a room is a container, a poem is a container. I am not a thought, I am not a poem, I have not always been deemed interesting. A room is not a poem is a room. Often I am in a room, often God is in a room. God is a kind of room. God is not a thought, God is not an object. God being a kind of room is therefore a kind of poem. My work is a kind of poem. My work is a kind of room. My work isn't always deemed interesting. Sometimes I think my work is interesting. Sometimes I think God is interesting. Sometimes I think God is a room the size of a room, the size of God, container, poem, work. 2. I hope this email finds you.
Give it up for Will Farris. Anna Cataldo is next. Anna Cataldo is a musician and writer in New York City. Please welcome Anna Cataldo.
Every day, I smooth her light around a festering grain of sand. It's magnificent. Some phenomena can only form in total deluge. A fish's thirst over all else. A sun rising once a day, at times twice, even 3 times the sun rises, such that the eyes mist over and all becomes a flash of reanimate green light. Am I to live forever in this tremendously wet and fertile sea? Ask me about foam's ability to conceive of foam. Thank you.
Big hand for Anna Cataldo. Our next reader is Roberto Montes. Roberto Montes, exclamation point. Please welcome Roberto Montes.
This world is not yours to ignore. Soaked until softened, cumin rubbed into the skin, hairs that sour and by an arrow garden light fall out. Will I die like this? Like this? Fingers in my mouth? What is asked of us, and worse, what we want. Happy New Year, everyone.
Big N for Roberto Montes. Our next reader needs no introduction, and has in fact provided no introduction. Nicole Wallace is our next reader, and the final reader of this evening. Nicole Wallace is the new executive director of the Poetry Project. Give it up for Nicole Wallace.
Oh, thank you, everyone. I'm like, am I at WrestleMania or what the fuck? Thanks, Elmo. Yeah. Happy New Bear, Laura Ortman. Oh my God. Oh, what? Here we go. Wow. I've never read last. That's fine. I'm working through that. I just want to thank everybody who has volunteered today. It takes over 150 people to make this day happen. And I want to thank everybody who's still here because it's really late and you've been here probably for a long time. And I want to thank the tech team. Videographers. The lighting techs. I want to thank Tracy, Dave, Heather, Elmo. I want to thank all of the people who have hosted today, who have performed today. My God, I don't want to miss anybody, but I drank Celsius and I feel kind of weird. I want to thank Mel. Kate. I want to thank especially all of the incredible people I get to work with every day, which makes being here and doing this work a gift and an honor. I want to thank you, Will. Anna. Roberto. Mirene. And Kay. I don't know where Kay has gone. Kay, there you are. And am I missing anyone? Maddie did sound tonight. Thank you for your great return. Anyway, it's really, truly an honor, and there's so many people to thank, and I think, most of the people who have been here all day probably want to go to bed. We still have a few hours left, because we gotta clean up. Anyway, I'm gonna read this poem, and wishing you all a really happy 2025. This poem is called Reckoning. Where in the dust settles particles of, can I continue to try to speak a truth that belongs deep in dried beige grasses along a meadow's edge? How lonely among the pines at the perimeter, pink and violet. How long this unsettling, how true my words against those of. Wild strawberry dried and carry these same seeds they rest for lack of. Faded turquoise, red coral set in metal, misshapen to fit the hand. Misshapen. My wish is to be free in the silent hours and knotting the roots, delicate hands moving. My wish is to be the tinge at the edge of the fault line. How do you set the scene for branches bare than pine, full pine, sharp light of January? It's so clear in my mind and I stretch to understand it. And Danis, gikendasoen, gikendasoen, mino ikendoen, my girl, you know, and further yet the perimeter, verdant soil seeded with wildflowers. This time, bent edge around this time, the bent edge of a meadow. Nothing but the sound of the leaves falling, the sounds of the interstate. Chimiigwech, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you this year.
Nicole Wallace!
I have to thank one more person who has been here literally all fucking day, who is Carlos, who works with St. Mark's Church and is literally an angel. Carlos has been here cleaning things up and taking care of things, so I really want to just say that. Okay. Thank you, Carlos.